Hi, I'm your Nostalgia Chick, and today we're going to talk about X-Men, the animated series. Now, ever since the tragic death of my BFF Nella at the hands of a ladder, I might be a little bit melancholy, but I have a job to do, so we're gonna buck up and get through this. Yeah, X-Men is nostalgic. We're doing nostalgic things.
Pride of the X-Men was a pilot that did not get picked up, probably because it kind of sucked.
This is Stan Lee of Marvel Comics warning you to look around you. Your classmates, your friends, you never know which one of them may be a mutant.
At least in comparison to that much darker and more sophisticated cartoon that actually made it on the air. Most of the characters ended up changing. Jean Grey, Beast, Rogue, Jubilee, nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, Dazzler, and Colossus are apparently mainstays, or would have been if the show had made it past pilot. Who can resist inexplicably Australian Wolverine?
Welcome her. Wait, she's not joining the X-Men, is she? She's just a kid.
Also Nightcrawler, he's a total creeper.
Ah, Fräulein, what a lovely vision you are. Please allow me.
Allow you to what? Cop a feel? Now, the actual successful series debuted on Fox Kids in 1992, and even still, it's the longest-running Marvel Comics-based show. It ran for 5 seasons and 76 episodes. It was well done for its time. It included sophisticated storylines, engaging characters, good voice acting, and a real conflict. The story of a bunch of mutants trying to find a place in a world that hates and fears them.
Ooh, X-Men sounds science. Oh, okay, Dr. Tease. Where's Dr. Block?
Oh, not in space. So I heard you were in need of a sidekick, and this review has gotten really boring and analytical, so I figured I'd come help.
I don't need a sidekick. I have a sidekick. See, this is Mignon.
Oh, Minion.
No, Mignon. It's French for minion.
So, X-Men is a science kid. I know a thing or two about science.
Well, I know everything, and I only need one sidekick that's going to lick me constantly, so you can just piece the hell out.
You love X-Men. That's why you're doing this review, right?
No. Well, I mean, I do, but like in an intellectual, analytical,
We get the truth,
culturally relevant way. Oh my god, this was the best show ever, you guys! First off, the theme song. So the main characters in this X-Men cartoon were the ones that were predominantly in the comic book at the time, because this was in the early 90s, before there were like 900 X-Men titles coming out every week, and there were only like 2 or so.
So as a kid, I was always confused as to who had what powers. You know, for instance, Storm's tendency to, like, warp into her outfit. She has the power over weather and polyester. Also, I kind of assumed that Magneto had, like, super strength. Why else would he have all those muscles? But he doesn't. He's just like a magnet guy with muscles. And Jubilee, well, her powers always kind of vacillated back and forth as to what they were actually able to do in the comic, so the same was bound to be happening in the cartoon.
My name's Jubilee. I blow stuff up.
What's her power? I don't know, but it sounds like fireworks. Jubilee, so called because she was born to Chinese-American hippies who named her Jubilation Lee, so her mutant name was really convenient and it matched her mutant power really well. She was the most annoying character because she was the one that kids were supposed to relate to.
Asked to be a mutant? I'm just a kid.
But only relatively most annoying. She wasn't bad, she was just the least cool.
You will come to visit us, won't you?
Does a mall baby chili fries?
Right, then there's Wolverine, Marvel's fattest cash cow. Well, maybe not fattest, but America loves them some hairy man angst, and Wolverine's got it in spades and disagrees with all the other X-Men a lot. To the point where you're kind of like, why are you even here? Just to be our angry foil? He does leave the X-Men a couple times, but it's always for, like, business reasons or something. Like, I gotta go explore my past, or I gotta go track down Sabretooth because I hate that guy! Oh, also, at the end of the Nightcrawler episode, Wolverine totally finds God.
I will trust and will not be afraid.
Ooh, must be wearing off.
Why would you do that?
Because the review was boring. It needs that passion, like the passion I have for mad sexies.
It was not boring. Anyway, Wolverine might be ubiquitous today, but he wasn't at the time. This cartoon was, in fact, the introduction for a lot of us to these comic book characters that had been around for dozens of years. Right, Nell?
Why would she leave her shirt there?
Sometimes shirts get left on chairs. It's not weird. Now I have no one to be nostalgic about the old X-Men cartoon with. Oh! Yeah, there was a lot about this cartoon that really threw my young, stupid mind off.
So, again, going back to the idea that as a kid I would get really confused as to who had what powers. So Storm is from Africa, and she has control over the weather. I got that. But I get thrown off by shit like this. It also wasn't until I read the comics later that I realized, oh, it's not just that she can fly. She's just using the wind to make her fly. She's not just randomly able to fly, like Rogue.
You're flying.
And also, like Data, she does not seem to be able to use contractions.
We shall find a way to help you. I am following her. Do not do it! It is I you want.
So out of this group that ended up in the cartoon, Beast was probably my favorite. He's so learned and so balanced, and such a good example of how a well-balanced person can come to terms with looking like a blue 19th century railroad baron. Hey, assholes, who let the guy with tomatoes into the court hearing? But that's not to say he's not human. He's not thrilled with the way he looks. Whoa, your coat just... Oh, okay, it's back. Anyway. But he understands that that's his lot in life, and he means to make the best of it. Oh, hug me, Beast!
If you prick us, do we not bleed?
Don't tempt these people, Mr. McCoy.
You're so blue! I love blue things!
Looks like I'll have time to catch up on my Dostoevsky.
Now, Gambit and Rogue were the southerners of the group. Rogue had the coolest voice actor out of the whole lot.
And I just washed this uniform.
Not only could she do a fun, kitschy southern accent, but she had demons. Such demons! Like never being able to be touched.
It's the kind of love I've always wanted in my life, but never had.
And having an angry other consciousness in your head. Gambit was pretty sexy, you had to admit, even if he did have a silly pink outfit. No offense, Cajuns, but it takes talent to make a Cajun accent sexy.
I like solitaire, okay? Unless I got someone to play with.
Now, Jean Grey, her outfit made her look naked. Why does Jean not have a code name for the first 2.5 seasons? Oh, because we're going to turn her into Phoenix later, and then she's going to turn back into Jean Grey, and all is well. And originally her name was Marvel Girl, which is kind of lame. I mean, I don't know if it was lame by 60s standards, but by 90s standards, it's nowhere as epic as Rogue or Storm, so she's just Jean Grey. Cyclops is her boyfriend, and he's the boring one. He's only boring because he's the straight man superego to Wolverine's raging id. He's always got the short end of the stick story-wise, but that is more or less his purpose in the story, to be the normal, albeit belabored one.
You always made excuses for him. You'd never let the rest of us get away with half the things he...
Professor X is the world's most bald telepath, meaning he often needed to be brushed aside for storyline convenience. You see this in the movies that happened like 5 or 6 years later. First, he's taken out of the story by going unconscious for the 3rd act. Second, he's taken out of the story by being, like, brain-controlled for the 3rd act. And then third one, he's just fucking killed. Fuck that movie. Wait, that's another rant. So he's an idealist. He's also the leader of the School for Gifted Youngsters, which in this iteration never had any youngsters, except for sort of Jubilee. I think she's supposed to be, like, 14. He used to be BFS with a guy named...
A dedicated young egg named Magnus.
Well, now he's Magneto. Magneto is the bomb! He had some awesome points. He was a great villain, and he was an awesome character. In fact, most of the mutant bad guys in the show were awesome because they had really valid points. They weren't evil just for the sake of being evil. They were evil because they had valid points. Professor X is the idealist. Magneto is the extremist who let his bitterness turn him to terrorism.
Look at them. They can't even make peace with each other.
Just like that thing that happens in the real world. Now, Shadowcat, she never showed up in the series, which was odd because she was the most popular X-Men characters of her time, like back in 1991. At the time, the X-Men animated series started, I think Kitty Pryde was like in England with Nightcrawler and an X-Men spin-off called Excalibur, which was weird and amazing, and I loved it, and I read every single issue all the way up until it was bad.
What was the dose of that truth serum you gave me? This is getting a little bit embarrassing, don't you think? Oh my god, Johnny Depp, Willy Wonka's better than Gene Wilder. Oh! I was not supposed to admit that. Nella and I had 3 Gollum posters in our room in college, and they were all signed by Andy Serkis. Oh, Nightcrawler is the reason I speak the German language. Ich liebe die Blaumähne, wegen Kurt Wagner, ich spreche Deutsch.
Nightcrawler was hardly in the series, but I'm going to briefly touch on this because he was my first love. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm admitting this. Oh well, he's a priest in this one. Kind of like he was in X-Men 2, but a lot more extreme. And everyone's all bigoted against him and German. Kurt in the comics was fun because he was, well, fun. In the cartoon, he's not much fun, but oh well, he's still blue.
Why must they always hate me?
And they run around with torches, even though it's 1992 in Germany. And Mystique is his mom. And there's this really convoluted episode, and like his brother is an anti-mutant activist, and Rogue is his stepsister, and he and Mystique have this moment.
She's Nightcrawler's mother. And Creed's mother, too. Boy, talk about your soap operas.
And it's all really convenient. We all learn this at all the same time, but it's so touching, and Mystique like learns a lesson.
Jean Grey's main defining attribute, however, is the fact that she dies a lot. You know, she gets possessed by the Phoenix, she gets cloned a time or two.
Oh, so you're saying we should clone Nella?
What? How would you stretch into that?
But you miss your Nella, right?
Yeah.
It's a logical thing to do.
No. That's like, you know, I'm all about playing in God's domain, but that's way too far.
God's domain. I have a timeshare.
Anyway, so Phoenix, she pops up a lot in this animated series, mainly in the 3rd season, where she has many episodes dedicated to her journey.
The Dark Phoenix saga in the comics ends with the untimely death of Jean Grey. I mean, of course, she eventually came back a few years later, and several times after that, in several convoluted plot contrivancy ways. Not so in the cartoon. In the cartoon, Jean doesn't die. The Phoenix just leaves her body and life goes on. Well, I mean, she dies, but she comes right back. So yeah, it was a good show and it had a good story, but that's not to say it was without its problems. Let's look again at that Dark Phoenix saga for how the show tamed down some of the darker elements of the original story. In the comics, it was the Hellfire Clubs who brought out the Dark Phoenix. Now it's the Circle Club?
The Circle Club is an impregnable fortress.
Subsidiary to the Triangle Society and the Trapezoid Corporation. We can't use the H word, but by God, the White Queen's white fetish wear is perfectly acceptable.
Inner Circle's newest member.
Oh no, not a corset! Another important distinction from the original story.
That thing, whatever it is, just destroyed an entire star system. If those planets had been inhabited, billions of innocent beings would have been wiped out.
When Phoenix did this in the comics, the system was inhabited and billions of little aliens died. So the Shi'ar weren't trying her for something she might do, they were trying her for something she did do. Also, at the end, she did die. The biggest problem I ever had with this series as an adaptation of the comics was, well, since it was done in the 90s, that meant it had a pretty heavy emphasis on the storylines that were going on in the 90s in the comics, meaning that Mr. Sinister popped up a lot. Not to mention bloody Apocalypse, who is so stupid apparently he needs a big old A on his belt buckle, so remember what his name is.
What's my name again? Alfonso? Oh, right, it's Apocalypse.
The voice acting for the main characters was great, but it wasn't always the best.
I'm sorry, Charles. I've done all I know to do for her.
Americans doing every accent known to man because, as we all know, real Scots charge exorbitant rates for voice acting. The show gave its audience credit, but only so much credit. Unlike the older man-children that read the comics, I guess they figured, they're kids. They won't question this sort of thing. And it's not that we didn't question it, but, well, we noticed.
X-Men was so successful because it had a poignant conflict. The eternal struggle against bigotry, and it did so in yellow spandex.
And that's why I wanted to review something that was actually good nostalgic. I mean, sure, it was kind of silly, but it was also kind of poignant, and it gave kids credit as to what they would actually pay attention to, and did so successfully. Everyone has a valid point in this universe. The bad mutants have every right to be angry, and it's fun to have a universe where so many of the characters are often switching sides, and always, well, usually, for a good reason. And the good guys, well, they may never really succeed in their quest, but damn it, they're gonna give it their best shot.
You're intellectualizing again.
No, I'm making a valid point.
You're denying your inner fangirl.
No, I'm not. I grew out of that a long time ago. It was Nella's job to be the mindless fangirl in this show, so now she's dead, so the show will have to suffice on hardcore analysis and puppies.
You didn't happen to have any DNA of hers, did you?
What are you getting at?
It's not like it hasn't been done before. I'm sure I could clone you another Nella. You didn't happen to bury her under rocks, did you? Because that would be really convenient.
No! What have I told you about cloning? You cannot clone Nella. Nella is gone, and now I don't have anyone to sit here and make me look good and smart by comparison. I'm gonna go take a sad walk. I'm gonna go change my shirt and take a sad walk.
Goodbye, Annette's rose. For you I barely felt it all, but I must say you knew your place. The mill house to my bard. And though I won't cry, as I hate when my mascara smears, I'll drink away my sadness after raiding your fridge for beer. And it seems to me you open your mouth just to put your foot in it, going on about Doctor Who and Star Trek like we gave a shit. But I sometimes wanted to tell you before the dust you bit. To me you were a wee bit more than my beleaguered bitch.
You're wearing lipstick.
I know. And eyeliner.
Where are your glasses? You're evil! How did this happen?
I was possessed by a quasi-demonic galactic force of evil. Once I died, because of you, I will be the butt of your jokes. No more.
No!